What's up, guys? How we doing today? Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about the strikes on Iran from the U.S. And I know that there's been a lot of talk going on about that, and I know there's a lot of people on both sides of that topic, and they're either for it or they're against it, and I just wanted to give my take on that and show you and talk about where I'm kind of coming from on it. Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about. Stay tuned. All right, so the attacks on Iran, and I know that, like I said, everybody's heard about it, and everybody has a side. Everybody, and there's even a lot of Trump supporters that are against it, that are like very, and I'm not now. Before I get too started, let me be very, very clear. I am not for World War III. Okay. But here comes the but part that a lot of you might think, oh, you're a liar. You said you're not for it, but you are for it. Well, I'm not for World War III. Okay. So let me be very clear. But I am kind of for the idea of showing the world that we're not weak anymore. We've had a weak government for so long. We've been taken advantage of, and I'm not against the idea of showing the world that we mean business and we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to get picked on anymore. It's like the kid in junior high that's getting bullied by the bully, and finally one day that the kid that's getting bullied finally steps up to the bully. And that's kind of how I see it as this attack. And it's like we're showing the world that no, we mean business. And this has been talked about for decades. Back when Obama, I've got a video of Obama talking about Iran and having their nukes and stuff like that. But I mean, we'll get into that here in a second, but it's about showing, like Trump likes to call it, or somebody was calling it, peace by strength. You can call it that if you want, but I call it, we're not putting up with it anymore. That's what I call it. Is we've been taken advantage of. We've been harassed. We've been with the weakness that we had in the Biden administration. And even beyond that, we've been just getting taken advantage of. And now we got somebody in there that's like, no, we mean business. Like I said, I'm not for the war. You guys go ahead in the comments and talk all the trash you want, but I'm not for a World War III. I'm not for a civil war. I'm not for any of that. But you know what? It's a matter of, let's be prepared for it. Okay, we got to be prepared for it. That's why we prepare. We're prepared for that. That's why preppers are prepping. They're prepping for that sort of thing, for a civil war, for a grid down, are we hoping that it happens? No. But are we prepared for it? Well, I hope so. I mean, I know we've all got a lot to do, and we don't want it to happen. We're just fixated on the prepping part of it and hoping it doesn't really happen. None of us hope it happens. And I know this big deal about sleeper cells and all that. But before I get into that, let's show what kind of what Obama was talking about when he was back in office and dealing with it.
Today, the United States, together with our close allies and partners, took an important first step toward a comprehensive solution that addresses our concerns with the Islamic Republic of Iran's nuclear program. Since I took office, I've made clear my determination to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. As I've said many times, my strong preference is to resolve this issue peacefully, and we've extended the hand of diplomacy. Yet, for many years, Iran's been unwilling to meet its obligations to the international community. So my administration worked with Congress, the United Nations Security Council, and countries around the world to impose unprecedented sanctions on the Iranian government. These sanctions have had a substantial impact on the Iranian economy. And with the election of a new Iranian president earlier this year, an opening for diplomacy emerged. I spoke personally with President Rouhani of Iran earlier this fall. Secretary Kerry has met multiple times with Iran's foreign minister, and we have pursued intensive diplomacy, bilaterally with the Iranians and together with our P5+1 partners, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, and China, as well as the European Union. Today, that diplomacy opened up a new path toward a world that is more secure, a future in which we can verify that Iran's nuclear program is peaceful and that it cannot build a nuclear weapon. While today's announcement is just a first step, it achieves a great deal. For the first time in nearly a decade, we have halted the progress of the Iranian nuclear program, and key parts of the program will be rolled back. Iran has committed to halting certain levels of enrichment and neutralizing part of its stockpiles. Iran cannot use its next-generation centrifuges, which are used for enriching uranium. Iran cannot install or start up new centrifuges, and its production of centrifuges will be limited. Iran will halt work at its plutonium reactor, and new inspections will provide extensive access to Iran's nuclear facilities and allow the international community to verify whether Iran is keeping its commitments.
Okay, so this has been over a decade. What I think this video was in 2011 or something like that. It was longer than that, longer than a decade and a half ago, and it still hasn't happened. I mean, they may have stopped for a little bit to make them happy, and then they just buried them underground and started building them again. And so it's obviously diplomacy and just talking to the people isn't working. I mean, we've got to make things happen, and if they can't talk about it, if we can't work it out diplomatically, then sometimes force is necessary. It's not fun. It's not popular. It's not, but sometimes it's necessary. I'm not saying sometimes war is necessary, because war is just it's a battle of resources, and they're always fighting for something, for money or for power or for, and it's all a big scam and a big corruption deal of they're fighting over something, whether it's money or earthly resources or whatever, or power, or I want more land, or I want to, it's always over something stupid, but sometimes it's necessary. Especially with Iran and having nukes. It's been even back when Obama, and I agree with it. I agree totally that Iran shouldn't have nukes. They shouldn't have nukes. There's a lot of countries out there that shouldn't. I don't think anyone should have nukes. I mean, why should even the United States? Why should the United States have nukes? The only reason we do is because, there's those bad actors that might want to build one secretly underground, and hopefully nobody sees it, nobody takes it out. Hint, hint, Iran. But I don't think it was. I think it was. I don't know. I hope it ends up to be a good move. Let's just call it that way. If it works, awesome. If not, if it puts us into a World War III, I won't be very happy. And that's not like I said, that's not what we want. We don't want war. And Trump has always been touted as being the peace president. But Obama launched a bunch of bombs, and everybody's done attacks on, maybe not Biden. I don't know if Biden threw any bombs at anybody, but maybe. But Trump did his first term. Trump has this term now, but nobody's for war, but just because you're doing this doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to war. But, and again, this is just my opinion. I'm not, very little actual facts are coming out right now. I've got the facts, but facts are out there. If you want facts, you can go look up the facts. I'm just trying to give you my take and to kind of give you a different perspective of how to think about things. And that's what I do in a lot of my videos. If you haven't noticed, or if you're wondering, that's kind of where hang on just one second. Oh, my alarm. Time to wake up. But But that's where I'm going with this. And I know the threat of sleeper cells. There's a lot of, it's been said that there's been sleeper cells in the country, and now that Iran is going to retaliate, and I don't, I mean, I see it happening, but I don't see it happening. It's like, because Iran's on the brink. They have, I mean, they still have weapons, but I know they don't have nukes anymore, obviously, because we destroyed them. They might still have some secretly placed somewhere else. Who knows? But I think that kind of shows them that, hey, we're not tolerating it. So if you do it, whatever, but we're not tolerating it, and we will basically essentially annihilate you. And we need to show strength again. That's the problem, is we need to show strength, even if it's through force. I understand that, war is not good, and nobody wants war. Just like you guys and your no kings. We don't want kings either, but we don't want war. We don't want war. War is, it's stupid and it's ridiculous. But sometimes you got to show that you're not willing to put up with it anymore. We're done getting bullied. We're done getting taken advantage of. We're done getting harassed. We're done getting exploited. We're done giving our money to overseas to everyone. We're done giving our taxpayers' dollars to these people so that they can build nukes. So much of our tax dollars go overseas, or at least they have until recently. They might still, who knows? I don't know. Everybody has an opinion, but that's my take on the war. I'm not for the war. I'm not for going into World War III. I'm not for a civil war, but it looks like, we could be going in that path. And if you're in any kind of religious or biblical, if you like, if it's been prophesied that wars and rumors of wars in the last days, and wars and rumors of wars have been going on for pretty much as long as the earth has been the earth. As long as people have been on the earth, there's been conflict, regardless. I mean, it's something that you can't stop by talking to people. Some people you can't talk to. Some people you just have to show them that you mean business. Sometimes, and that's the thing about Trump, is he's action. He's not an all talk kind of guy like some of these other guys are. They're all talk. They're not, they talk a big game, but they don't do it. And I'm just a little guy. I have a lot of talk and little action. I'm pushing 50 years old, so I can't do a whole lot of action, but it's more of our leaders that we expect that from, that we, there's been a lot of talk and not enough action over the past 5, 6, 7 decades of presidents that we've had, that, they talk a big game, get elected in office, and then they don't do what they said they're going to do. So it's, and I mean, obviously they try, like Obama. Maybe he tried. Maybe he did come up with that agreement. Maybe he did come up with that deal, and maybe it worked for a time. But then then he backed off, and then Iran went back to building their nukes again. So I mean, you didn't follow through with it. That's the thing. You're not following through with your commitment. Maybe you're doing a little to get it started. Maybe you got to that phase 1 part, and then stopped after phase 1, and never went on beyond phase 1. So who knows? I mean, I'm just trying to give you another way of looking at things. So take it for what you will. Everybody has an opinion. Trash me in the comments, whatever. I'm not for the war. You can say I am, but I'm just trying to give you something else to think about, because everybody, you're either for it or you're against it. And that's all there is to it. And, you're going to listen to this side that's like bashing Trump for doing it, and that's the worst thing ever. Now he's bringing us into the war, and there's this other guys that, bring us into war, get it, let's annihilate the. And then, but there's another way of thinking it. You got to kind of see both sides, and then kind of come to your own, conclusion. And my conclusion is, I'm not for war. If it breaks out into a war, I'm not going to be happy about that. And I'm going to be very critical over that. But right now, Trump's in what do I got to lose type of thing. He's obviously not due for another election, another re-election, and he's looking out for the safety of the American people. And who knows if/when they were going to strike. They're building these nukes for a reason. Why are they building these nukes? What do they need them for? I mean, why would they build them? Just to have them? Just to keep them? Just to say, "Ha, look at us, we got nukes." I mean, what? I mean, what's their purpose behind it? I mean, the bullies are going to bully, and they're going to, it's just like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're like North Korea. They just want to go blow them off and blow off some steam and throw them into the ocean or throw them into some of their. Who knows? But I doubt it. I doubt they're just building them just to waste them. They're building them to use, whether it's offensively or defensively. They're using them to. They're building them to use. But anyway, enough of that rambling. I'm not for war, but I'm for showing that we're not going to put up with the bull crap anymore. That we're not, we're not weak anymore. We're not a weak country anymore, and we're going to stand up and we're going to show you that no, you're not going to do that. We've had a deal. There was a deal made decades ago, or at least a decade and a half ago, that you're not supposed to have nukes, and now you have nukes, and talking to you obviously hasn't worked, and it's not going to work, and so here you go. We'll take care of it for you then. And that's the thing. And if they retaliate, if the sleeper cells get activated, best advice I got for you is stay out of the crowds of people. Don't go where they're most likely to hit, because I mean they're not gonna go through neighborhoods, and if you stay home or stay in a small group of people's like in your neighborhood, or especially coming the 4th of July is coming up. If you're going out to some big old 4th of July bash where there's thousands of people, you could potentially see some bad actors, especially with these tantrums, these hate Trump temper tantrums that they're throwing for the no kings people, those things. I think they're planning something on the 4th, and if we get some of these sleeper cells activated, there could be some bad actors out there. So just be careful if you're going into some big crowd to celebrate the 4th. Just kind of keep it as a small group, but you do you. I mean, it's on you. If you're worried about it, stay home. Keep your group small. If you're not worried about it, hey, go on, have fun. That's the thing, is just live your life. Try not to focus on it too much, because that stresses people out. It depresses people. It gives people anxiety, and we don't need that. But anyway, again, I'm starting to ramble. Appreciate you. Love you. Do the YouTube stuff down below. It's just subscribe, like, comment, share. You know the YouTube drill. There's also links below if you feel like supporting the channel. I don't get any kind of sponsors or monetary. I get the little teeny bit that YouTube pays out for ads, but that's an anemic amount. That doesn't pay anything. We're still growing. We're growing slowly, but we're growing. But anyway, appreciate y'all. Love you. See you in the next one.